They once called it a celebration in liquid form, before it became a weapon, before it became a curse, before its name was whispered only by the desperate and the doomed. It was brewed for a king who feared stillness more than death. He ruled over a city that never dimmed its lights. Music flowed through its avenues like blood through veins. Drums echoed from balcony to balcony. Strings trembled beneath golden hands. Voices rose every night until dawn seemed less like morning and more like an interruption. The city did not mourn. It did not rest. It did not allow silence to gather in corners. Its king demanded it so. To him, stillness was the first symptom of decay. A quiet hall meant weakness. A sleeping court meant surrender. A slowed heartbeat meant the body had begun negotiating with death. And so he summoned brewers, alchemists, distillers, war physicians, and poisoners to his palace. He gave them a single command: create a brew that would never dull, never fade, never let the body forget what it meant to feel alive. The first attempts failed. Wines sharpened the senses, but weakened the limbs. Tonics roused the blood, but clouded the mind. Stimulants burned brightly, then left their drinkers hollow and trembling. The king rejected them all. He did not want pleasure. He wanted motion. So the brewers turned to forbidden fermentation. The mixture was not fed with fruit and grain alone. Into the casks they poured crushed stimulants, bitter roots, powdered war stone, and oils rendered from beasts that died fighting. They stole the final breath from victorious soldiers and distilled the last surge of triumph from warriors who died with their weapons still raised. They gathered laughter that had stretched too long, dances pushed beyond exhaustion, hearts that refused to slow. Excess itself became ingredient and fuel. The brew did not age, it learnt. Inside the cask, the liquid thickened into an emerald black haze, swirling with a hunger that mirrored those who would one day drink it. Its surface pulsed faintly, as though something beneath it breathed. Sweetness turned sour within it. Fermentation became not decay, but intention. When the vessel was sealed, the court celebrated. When it was opened, they screamed. The scent alone sent courtiers into fits of laughter. Some collapsed in ecstasy. Others clawed at their own faces, begging for another breath of the vapor. The king smiled. At last, he believed, joy had been preserved. At last, life had been forced to continue. They named it the first pour. The honor of drinking it did not go to the king. It went to a champion of the court, a man famous for never retreating from a duel. A man whose body had already been broken and repaired so many times that pain had become familiar company. He lifted the chalice. The liquid inside moved before he did. It climbed the glass in sluggish spirals, emerald and black, eager as an animal hearing its name. When he drank, the court fell silent for the first time in years. Then his heart began to thunder. His pulse struck like war drums beneath his skin. His limbs lightened. His breath deepened. Fatigue vanished as if it had never existed. Pain retreated to some distant room of the mind and locked itself away. He laughed. Then he moved. Every step was faster than the last. Every strike sharper. Every turn flowed into the next with a natural grace, as though his body had remembered a rhythm older than exhaustion. He drew his blade not in anger, but exhilaration, carving arcs of silver through the torchlit hall. The crowd roared. The king rose from his throne. The champion did not stop moving. More drank, then more. The chalice passed from noble to vagabond, from mercenary to dancer, from servant to priest. No hand held it long before another reached for it. No throat tasted it once without desiring the second swallow. The city changed by degrees. At first, the nights grew brighter, then louder, then sharper. Dancers no longer followed the music. They chased it. They hunted it. They consumed it with their bodies, twisting faster than rhythm demanded. spinning until their feet bled across marble floors. Duelists laughed as they opened one another's skin. Musicians played until their fingers split. Courtiers embraced strangers, enemies, ghosts of memory, anything to avoid the pause that followed joy. The drink did not dull the senses. It heightened them. Fear dissolved into reckless courage. Hesitation vanished. Wounds became irrelevant. Breath became fire. Thought became motion. To stop was to feel, and feeling meant collapse. So they drank again, and again. The chalice demanded tribute. Its gift did not come from mercy. It did not create strength from nothing. It borrowed vitality from the body and disguised the theft as freedom. Every reckless step returned to the vessel. Every swing of a weapon. Every laugh forced beyond breath. Every moment spent chasing sensation over survival. The brew thickened, darkened, strengthened. Those who drank deeply found themselves rewarded for abandon. The faster they moved, the more the chalice answered. The harder they struck, the brighter the emerald haze burned beneath their skin. The less they cared for consequence, the more alive they felt. But the body is not meant to outrun its own decay. Veins darkened, muscles tightened beyond reason. Blood soured, laughter hollowed into something that sounded like joy only from a distance. The same force that drove them forward began devouring them from within. Their bodies adapted to the frenzy by consuming themselves, burning years of life into moments of impossible motion. Still, they did not slow. The brew would not allow it. Days passed, or perhaps weeks. Time had no meaning within the festival anymore. The city's lamps remained lit, though no one remembered who tended them. Music still rang through the streets, though many instruments played in broken loops beneath hands too ruined to stop. The celebration had become machinery. The feast had become law. No one spoke of the king. No one spoke of mourning. No one spoke of the bodies that did not fall, but remained locked in motion long after life should have released them. The crowd thinned, not by departure, but dissolution. Flesh grew brittle. Faces froze between ecstasy and strain. Some collapsed where they stood, veins thick with rot. Others simply kept drinking, their bodies held together by momentum and need. The chalice was no longer shared. It was fought over, not for pleasure, for survival. Each sip delayed the inevitable, even as it hastened it. Every drinker understood this eventually, though most understood it too late. The ferment granted speed without rest, power without restraint, life without preservation, and always decay waiting just beneath the glow. In the end, only one remained. Not the king, not the champion, not the brewy who first sealed the cask. A nameless figure sat slumped against a throne built from shattered goblets, cracked masks, and empty husks that had once been people. Their hands clutched the chalice with terrible devotion. They trembled, not with weakness, but anticipation. Around them, the city still echoed. A drumbeat without a drummer, a laugh without a throat, a dance remembered by bones. The liquid inside the vessel churned violently now. It was thick as decay, radiant with a sickened emerald glow. It had fed on countless excesses, countless lives burned into fleeting euphoria, countless refusals to rest. The final drinker raised it once more, not with joy, with understanding. They knew what the chalice had always been. Not a gift, not a celebration, not an escape from decay. A bargain with acceleration. The body convulsed when the liquid touched their tongue. Flesh failed, but something else endured. Something sustained not by life, but by indulgence itself. Something that did not need a heartbeat, only hunger. Something that remembered motion even after the body had forgotten how to live. The vessel pulsed, as though pleased. It had found its keeper. When the city was finally found, there was no silence, only echoes. The streets were filled with figures locked, mid-motion, arms raised, bodies twisted, mouths open in laughter or pain. Not dead, not alive, spent beyond ending. Preserved in the last command their bodies had obeyed. Continue. At the center of the city, the chalice was gone. Some say it shattered and seeped into smaller vessels, each one carrying a fragment of its restless hunger. Some say the last reveler carried it beyond the gates, moving too quickly for death to follow. Some say the chalice walks by itself now, appearing wherever restraint begins to crack, where victory becomes indulgence, where celebration becomes obsession, where desire outweighs caution, where someone fears stillness more than ruin. It offers the same promise it always has: strength without hesitation, power without restraint, motion without end. To drink from the reveler's rot is to become something fleeting and unstoppable, a living contradiction of vitality and decay. Speed surges through the veins, fear burns away. The body becomes a vessel of relentless action, but with every heartbeat, something is lost. Not immediately, not visibly, just enough that by the time you notice, you're already moving too fast to stop.